as you know, we started out with County Judge Clay Jenkins in the fall. Then we followed up with that with State Rep Jessica Gonzalez. And then we followed that up with Mary Beth Tinker, the great court case, Tinker versus Des Moines. Several weeks ago we had City Manager T.C. Broadnax. And we ended this on a really high note. Today we have State Senator Royce West. This is kind of homecoming for Royce West. You've been around these parts for longer than me, sir. And Royce West has a deeply vested interest in this. But first, I want to just take a moment to recognize some special people that are with us today. Our Chancellor, Dr. Lowen, Chancellor from Dallas College, Dr. Justin Lowen. His Chief of Staff is Juan Garcia. Susan Perez is back in the back. She'll be with us in a minute. Senior Director of College Administration. And of course, our wonderful administration, Ms. Chelsea Sanchez, Mr. Lacey, and Mr. Harris. And we couldn't do this without them, right? Royce West has been in the political circle and in government for many, many years in Dallas. If anybody knows Dallas better, I don't know who does. He does. And in 1990, I want to say in 92, he was first elected to the Texas State Senate. Senator West has been nominated by Dallas Monthly as one of the 10 best legislators in Texas. He is the vice chair of the Senate Higher Education Committee. He is a graduate of UTA, and I think you probably have gone other places to do that.
University of Houston.
University of Houston. Your JD is at?
That's what my JD.
Is Dr. Jurt's his law degrees from University of Houston. But without further ado, I'm going to pass the microphone to Senator West and allow him to speak to you. Oh, by the way, write this down. The color for the day is brown, B-R-O-W-N. Write that down.
Y'all got the code word? What's the code word? Okay, good. Brown. Good afternoon. Come on, y'all. Good afternoon. You just don't know. It's really a pleasure being here with you today. But before I get into the reason why I'm here, I want to talk about your chancellor, okay? I've been knowing your chancellor, Dr. Justin, how long have we been knowing each other? About 20, 25 years? 25 years plus. When I first met him, he was an intern with then Dallas Mayor, soon to be political candidate for the U.S. Senate, Ron Kirk. And now, he's the chancellor of the Dallas college system. Let's give him another hand. You know, how many of you ever heard of Wilmer Hutchins High School? Wilmer Hutchins High School. Raise your hands. Okay. I'm a graduate of Wilmer Hutchins High School here in the Dallas area. I've spent most of my life in Oak Cliff. I've spent most of my life in Oak Cliff. And I now live in DeSoto. Again, I attended UT Arlington and went to the University of Houston to become a lawyer. And I've been a lawyer for several years now also. I've tried a lot of cases as a defense attorney, as a prosecutor, as a civil lawyer, and I've taken those skill sets to help me in Austin. I'm not going to sit up here and just kind of lecture to you. I'm going to give you a few things, and then we're going to have a serious conversation. How many of you really care about government in this state? How many of you really care about it? Raise your hands. If you don't, all right, put your hands down. How many of you don't care one way or the other about government? Raise your hands. Nope. I mean, I'm serious. If you don't care about it, let me know now. Okay. Now, for those who really care about government, I'm going to ask you to move to the front. Y'all come on up, because I really need to talk to you. So everybody cares about it now? All right. How many of you care about government? Raise your hands.
All my students are in here. I better see some hands going up.
I don't see the hands over here on this side at all. All right, we're going to have a conversation. I want you to remember something. Business is politics, and politics is business. What did I just say? Say it again. Business is politics, and politics is business. For those that didn't raise their hands and care about government, business is politics, and politics is business. I want y'all to remember that. You may not understand it right now, but you ultimately will. When I think about being a state senator, I'm in the legislative body of the great state of Texas, where there are 150 state representatives and there are 31 state senators. I'm one of those state senators. I represent close to 1 million people in this area. And I've got to make certain that I'm responsive to their needs, be they political or otherwise. When someone calls me and says that they need some help with their utility bills, guess what I try to do? I try to help them. When students call and say that they're trying to get monies in order to go to school, you know what we do? We try to help them. Because that's the reason that I'm in office. I volunteered for this job, to be your state senator. And frankly, I represent most of you right now. I represent your families. Let me go back to what my job is as a state senator. But y'all probably already know since you're in the government class. What does a state senator do? What's your name? Yes. Stand up. Come on. I'm going to be calling on y'all, so get ready. So you can put your heads down as much as you want to. If your head is down, not looking at me, I'm going to call on you. Okay? So come on up here. Your head was not down. Okay. What is your name?
Yeah.
What? Say it again?
Yeah.
Y'all say hello to y'all. Y'all say hello. Hello. Okay, so what is a state senator?
State senator is one of the people that represent us here as a community. We senators run the business in Cyprus.
Close enough. All right, y'all. Okay, all right. There are 31 state senators in the state of Texas. Each of us represent close to 1 million people each. And yes, we represent the interests of people in our senatorial districts and also the entire state of Texas. When we begin to look at the budget of the state of Texas, it's over $200 billion. Now, here's another thing I want y'all to remember. In government, follow the money. What did I say? What did I say?
Follow the money.
Okay. Follow the money. Because when you look at a government's budget, it tells you what the government's priorities are. Because that's where the money is allocated. It's allocated to the priorities of the body that oversees that unit of government. Whether it's city government, county government, state government, or the federal government. Those persons that design the priorities make certain that the resources get there in order to carry out the priorities. So make sure you do what? Follow the, okay, good, all right, good. I want you to follow the money. When you begin to look at the state of Texas and the legislative branch of government, what does the legislative branch of government do? Does anyone know what the legislative branch of government does? Huh? I can hear you. Stand up. What's your name?
Caden.
Caden, K-D-E-N?
CA1.
See what? All right, y'all say good morning to Katie. All right, so what does the legislative branch of government do, Katie?
They make laws,
Okay. What are the three branches of government?
judicial, executive, and legislative.
All right. Give him a hand, y'all. Give him a hand. Okay. The legislative branch in the state of Texas, what is it comprised of? How many houses?
2.
And what are those houses?
I don't know.
Okay, close enough. Sit on back down. That's good. Okay. All right. The legislative branch of government in Texas is comprised of 2 houses. How many of you know? Is anyone here that knows what those houses are? Come on. Well, you're almost as tall as I am. What's your name?
My name is Hector.
Y'all say hello to Hector. All right, Hector. What are the 2 houses?
The House of Representatives and the Senate.
That's right, okay? The House of Representatives and the Senate. So, the legislative branch of government in this country, at the federal level and at the state level, are comprised of 2 houses. The House of Representatives and the Senate. I happen to be in the Senate, okay? Hector, thank you. All right, now, the judicial branch of government. The judicial branch of government. What is the judicial? Stand up. Does anyone know what the judicial branch of government does? Come on. Stand up. I'm trying to figure out who's not watching. Okay, there it is. Somebody got the head down doing something. Come on, come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. What is your name? What's your name? Alexis. Did y'all hear? Did y'all hear? What did she say her name was?
Alexis?
Okay, y'all say good morning to Alexis. All right, what does judicial branch of government do, Alexis?
They interpret the laws.
They interpret the law. All right, let's talk about it now. What is the highest court in the land? She said the Supreme Court. Is she right? Yes. Okay. What's the highest court in the state of Texas?
State court?
The Supreme Court. There's a Supreme Court in terms of the federal government, and there's a Supreme Court here in the state of Texas. All right? Now, Texas is somewhat different in terms of the case. Now, the Supreme Court has the final say as it relates to the interpretation of civil laws in the state of Texas. As it relates to criminal laws, the Court of Criminal Appeals has the final say. I'm not finished with you, Lexus. Yes, I am. Thanks. Y'all give her a hand. Thanks. What is the other branch of government? Legislative, judicial. What's the other one? Executive. Who knows what the executive branch of government is about? Anyone? Executive branch of government? No? No? Come on up here. And your name is? Paul. Y'all say hello to Paul. All right, Paul, what does the executive branch of government make?
It enforces the laws.
Okay, it enforces the laws. The executive branch of government enforces the laws. All right, who's the chief executive in the United States?
President.
The President of the United States heads up the executive branch of government. Who's the chief executive in the state of Texas?
The governor.
The governor is the chief executive in the state of Texas. You heard from Clay Jenkins, who's the county judge, and he's kind of the chief executive at the county level of government, and the mayor at the local level of government, even though they're not 3 branches at the local level of government or the county, but you can analogize it to that. Sit down, Paul. Thanks. my hand. Well, let me tell you how important this is. There's been a lot of issues as a state senator that I've had to tackle. And I'm a Democrat. And Democrats are not in control. By no stretch of the imagination. Republicans are in control of the state of Texas. And you know why that is? Somebody said something. All right, why is that? Come on, stand up. Your name?
Jacob,
All right, Jacob, why are Republicans in control?
because they do gerrymandering and twist the districts into favoring their party.
Okay, good. So no doubt. Okay, here's the deal. Gerrymandering and twisting of the districts is pretty much the same thing. Is what the Republican Party has been able to do. But guess what? When Democrats were in control, they did the same thing. It gets down to who's in power as it relates to trying to maintain the power in order to set the budget, in order to spend the money that you as taxpayers pay on their priorities. And that's what the Republicans do. And I don't blame them. And I don't blame them. The fact of the matter is, if indeed we want to make certain that different priorities, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, are addressed, we've got to make certain that we turn the vote out. That's what we've got to do. We can't just sit on our laurels and do nothing. All right, we're going to talk about some topics. And you're talking to your senator, and I've got to vote on these issues. Where should I be on a woman's right to make her own decisions about her medical treatment? Where should I be? How should I vote on something like that? Should a woman have a right to decide whether to have an abortion? I'm asking y'all. You don't, maybe y'all are too young to have an opinion on that. Or you don't have an opinion on it, do you? Do you have an opinion on it? Don't know, do you? You have an opinion on it? Don't know. You have an opinion on it? Do you have an opinion on it? Should a woman have a right to decide whether or not to have a baby? How many of you think a woman should have a right to have a baby? Raise your hands. How many of you think that if a woman, how many don't think that a woman should have a right to have to decide whether to have a baby or not? Okay, good. I just want to make sure what I'm talking about is consistent with what you guys talk about. If a woman is raped, should the woman, and she then conceives a baby, should she be able to make a decision whether or not to have that baby? Do you know a couple of things have happened? And you will hear about that type of thing pretty much all the time. The Supreme Court of the United States in Roe versus Wade. Have y'all ever heard of that case? Yeah. Roe versus Wade. Let me tell you something. That came out of Dallas. Roe versus Wade. Wade was the district attorney here in Dallas County. And that case went all the way to the Supreme Court and was the law of this country for 50 years, where a woman had a right to choose. Donald Trump was able to put in place 3 Supreme Court justices. And those 3 Supreme Court justices, along with those that were there, decided to overturn Roe versus Wade. And by doing that, it basically took away liberty. The liberty of a woman to choose whether or not they have an abortion, to choose their own medical treatment. That's what happened. And said now that the states have the right to do that. And as a result of that, we have a mixture of laws around this country in terms of a woman's right to choose. And if that doesn't fire you up about making certain that you participate in the legislative process, let me give you a couple others. How many of you have heard of affirmative action? Affirmative action. What ends up happening, let me tell you what affirmative action is. What it is, it still is, but it's being weakening now. It gives you an opportunity to be treated equitably. As an Hispanic, as an African American, as a woman, it gives you the opportunity to do that. Based on things that happened 400 years ago. Getting stopped because of the color of your skin. Being placed in jail because of the color of your skin. Making less wages because of your gender. Regarding affirmative action. How many of you heard of George Floyd? Raise your hands. Hopefully I'm not boring y'all. I'm not boring myself, I can tell you that. All right, when George Floyd was killed on network television, just because of the color of his skin, by a police officer, we begin to see America wake up in terms of making certain that people, regardless of their color or their gender, had opportunities. You begin to see legislative branches of government, in some instances, responding to what happened to George Floyd. But you begin to see also a hardening from the right. They started talking about CRT. Have y'all ever heard of CRT? Critical race theory? Okay? Oh yes, okay? Critical race theory. And guess where that started? Right here in Texas. In South Lake, Texas. That's where it started. And like wildfire, all around the country, we've got to stop the CRT, critical race theory. But the reality is that educators just wanted to make certain that you as students understood the diversity of this country and appreciated it. But the hard right began putting people on school boards. And those persons on the school boards begin to look at the content of books and wanted to ban them from the class, from the libraries on your campuses. Guys, this is what's happening today. The hard right. And the reality is, it can all change. There needs to be a balance in this country. And that's what the legislative branch of government and being able to elect an executive does. Balances it out. And to the extent that we continue to just kind of sit on our laurels, we'll continue to get the same results that we have in the past, over the past 20 or 30 years. You got to remember, there were people before you, before me, that actually fought for these rights, died for these rights, for us to be able to enjoy these rights. But they're slipping away because we don't have enough people to stand up to make certain that we elect people who care about these things. Well, Senator West, okay, all that's great. What have you done about the crisis on the border? Well, what should I do? You tell me. Do we have a crisis on the border, y'all? Yes. I'm talking to myself because I don't hear y'all. Y'all not talking to me. Yes. Do we have a crisis on the border? Yes. Okay, what should we do about it? What do y'all think we should do about it? Because it impacts you also. What should we do about it? Give me some ideas. All right, come on back up here. I'm coming to the back in a minute, so y'all get ready.
I believe we should.
Take a microphone.
I believe we should recognize it as an issue rather than just ignore it and let it just fade away into history as one of our greatest mistakes.
Well, what should we do then, other than recognize it?
Well, pay attention to the decisions that are being made on behalf of us and like the state level, and, like the legislative process.
Okay, all right. What should we do about it? We're gonna spend some time on this one. What should we do about it? Stand up. Come on. What's your name? Mike. You know, there is no wrong answer. Okay? Do you have an opinion about Mike? Y'all say hello, Mike.
Hello, Michael. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Mike. What do you think? If you were a state senator and had to vote on this, what would you recommend?
We should make it, or we should try and put a plan and action to make it easier for people to make income instead of having to do what they're doing now, do the borders illegally, and just cause people to act rationally and meditate. I think that would be probably the best way.
Okay, all right, thanks, Mike. All right. Come on. Come on. Your name is? Your name is?
My name is Viviana.
Okay. Y'all say hello to her.
Good afternoon, Liliana.
Okay, what do you think we should be doing? If you were the state senator, what would you do? Knowing that I'm responsible for the legislative branch of government, we have to draft laws and pass laws. What would you do in order to give the right and wrong? Tough question, right? I know. You need some help? All right, come on. What's your name? Sophia, that's Sophia? Y'all say hello to Sophia. All right, come on. So, now y'all are now two senators, and you represent 2 million people who care about this issue on the border. What do you think we should do?
I think find the source and come up with solutions as a group, not just one senator suggesting a change.
Okay, closer. All right, okay. I'll get you all the things. Okay, good. Come here, man. You have a blue shirt. That's what I'm talking about. I got you. What's your name? All right. Let's say hello to Ryan. What you Ryan?
I believe,
Talk to me.
I believe that, in my opinion, I feel like what Governor Greg Abbott was doing was I agree with him actually, to protect the border and to have integrity for what, and maintain a safety for Texas.
Okay, good. There's no wrong answer. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, feel the way you're about
Yes, come on up here. And what is your name? Holly. All right, Joan.
I think we should finish the wall, build an extensive border wall, and I think we should have ports of entry for migrants that can legally enter. I also support Greg Abbott in his decision to put a razor wire on the border. Because just earlier, either today or yesterday, there were many migrants that broke through the border here on Garza. And the National Guard just let them through. They got overwhelmed. So I think we should also put more National Guard troops on the borders.
Okay, all right. Okay. What's your name?
Jay Vardy.
I'm sorry, what?
Jay Vardy.
Y'all say hello to Giovanni. Okay, what do you think?
I do think yes, there should be a safe passageway for them to enter our state, but also not just turning them away immediately, like actually hearing their backstory, the reasons why they want to come to Texas, because they're coming here for a reason, instead of just turning them around immediately and telling them no. Each one of them has a reason, they have a story where they come from. And Texas is a growing economy. It's a large state. We need people to have jobs, just straight up. So we should give them opportunity instead of just automatically turning them away. So that's something that I would look at if I was a senator.
Okay.
I think that we should also not discriminate against them by just being able to, because I know that there's some recent things going on with like SB4 and stuff, and I think that is just a modern way to racial profile immigrants. And I think by doing that, we're just repeating history. So to combat that border issue, also combat the SB4.
And SB4 is a Senate bill that was passed during the last session of the legislature, the 88th legislative session. I voted against the bill because it's a racial profiling bill. Okay, I voted against it. She's right. And the battle right now is whether the state has any real power to manage this, or whether the federal government should be managing. Let me give you one. There's been over 5 million, I believe, undocumented persons coming to the United States over this past year, last couple of years. Finally, the Senate, the U.S. Senate, was able to come together on an immigration bill. They came together. But just as they were getting ready to vote on the bill, Donald Trump told the Speaker of the House that he didn't want the bill passed because Joe Biden would get credit for it. Now you think about that. Here's a problem that's been going on for years that we hadn't been able to solve, or there was no willingness to solve. And finally, a bipartisan group of persons come together in order to get a solution. What solution am I talking about? Okay. A solution to the problem, a partial solution to the problem. And Donald Trump sits up and says, no, don't do that, because Biden will get credit for it. How stupid. When all of us recognize, be it Democrat or Republican, that we have a problem at the border, a crisis at the border. I was down there last week. And yes, what happened over there the last few days is appalling. In terms of people wanting to rush our national guard in order to come into this country. But again, let me go back to what I said from the very beginning. Business is politics, and politics is business. Let me go back to one more. You can tell the priorities of a country or of a government in terms of where they put their money. And yes, we need more border control personnel, be they judges, in order to hear the asylum cases. We have a backlog of about 3 million people that need to go through the asylum process. Border Patrol agents. But for some reason, we will not put the resources where they need to be in order to address the issue. Why is that? Who's benefiting from that? And when you think about it, the undocumented persons in this country, guess what they do? They pay taxes. They pay taxes. But yet still, we won't allow them a process in order to determine whether or not they need to stay in the country. And guess what? And this is what I'm being told by many of my friends that are of Hispanic background. Those persons coming into the country that have children while they're in the country, what they're passing on to their children is this: you don't want anything to do with the government. You don't want anything to do with the government. And guess what that does? That puts in place a mindset that you don't want to register to vote and that you don't want to vote. That's what's happening. It's going to be up to your generation. And I don't know whether you have any undocumented in your families or not, but you need to understand that you've got to participate. You've got to encourage your families to participate. You've got to make sure you encourage your families to look at some of you running for office. This country is getting browner and browner and browner. I want you to think about this. Think about this. Some of you may very well end up being a congressperson on the federal level. During your lifetime, you make sure you write this down. Senator West told you this. Write it down. During your lifetime, write it down. Man and woman will live on the moon. During your lifetime. Some of you may end up being some of the engineers and astronauts or bus drivers taking people from Earth to the moon. That's going to happen during your lifetime. And guess what? Government will be involved in it. And assuming that we have the same type of government and not an authoritarian government that Trump wants to have, we'll have a democracy where we have a legislative branch of government, the branch of government that I serve in, that will have to make rules and laws in order to make certain that persons living on the moon, or frankly, going to Mars, using AI, comply with our Constitution here on Earth. I know I'm going on and on because I was really waiting, I really wanted to be here. And I know that time is getting tight. But I wanted to make certain that I came here today to talk to you about the things that I've expressed to you. And I know that we want to have some time, a few minutes for some questions. So I will yield my time, Mr. President, back to you in order to open it up for questions.
Points. Do we have any questions from our students that they wanted to ask? Senator West?
Good afternoon, Mr. Reyes. How are you?
Good afternoon.
I know you didn't touch on this topic, but I did do research on you. I did find that you are actually for helping out broken families and when all things do fall through, child protective services.
Yes.
However, we do know that that can be a very abusive system. So my question to you is, what acts are being done to make sure you don't put them in a worse
question is, what am I doing for family services in this state? Our foster care system in Texas is one of the worst in this entire country. Y'all know what foster care is? When a child is removed from their family, they go into the foster care system. And when you do what we call a look at that, it's some of the worst results as it relates to that child. That child ends up on the streets, in prison, some of the worst results. And so what I did, probably about 10 or 15 years ago, is put in place what we call kinship care. What that means is that if a child becomes a ward of the state, then they can go to a relative, and the state provides financial services to those relatives in order to raise those children. And guess what? It works. Remember what I said? You know what the priorities of the state is, you start putting money behind it. And so we've been putting money behind that. And when you begin to look at kids in that system, in the kinship care system, we have better results.
Thank you. We had a debate class this last week. We're just launching off into legislature. What is your opinion about, should the legislature stay part-time, or should a state like ours, how big it is, have a full-time legislature? What do you think about that?
Well, can y'all hear me? Yes. Okay. Here's the deal. I make $600 a month being a state senator. Okay? $600 a month. I make big money being a state senator. No, I'm being silly on that. The fact is this: the voters would have to make that determination. We're getting to a point where we need a full-time legislature that we're meeting every year, but it would have to be approved by the voters of the state of Texas, and you'd have to make certain that the legislatures had a decent salary. And most people don't want to provide a salary for legislators. They just don't. If I was not a lawyer and had my own law office, and the law office telephone number is 214-941-1881. I'm just joking, all right? If I didn't have a office, if I didn't have a practice, I wouldn't be able to afford to be a legislator. So that comes down to how people in the state of Texas view the legislature and understand and appreciate the business of the legislature.
Thank you. Okay. We have time for one more or two more questions. Anybody? Right behind me? Emmanuel.
Good afternoon, Mr. West. Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. It's come to my knowledge that you've been an advocate for several different legislations towards the rights and opportunities of several people, like you've said, that kinship care program providing for people in the foster system. Also, law enforcement legislation that requires law enforcement officers to have cameras on themselves and their cars so that they have to watch them. Also, opportunities for students. Here, you're one of the main advocates for our top 10% system, or if you're a top 10% of the class, you actually get, I believe it's free admission, is automatic admission to all public universities in the state. My question is, does this advocacy draw from any of your personal experiences in life? Like maybe you've experienced something in life that motivated you and inspired you to take this path?
Great question. Great question. Great question. How many of you are familiar with racial profiling? Racial profiling. How many of you have ever been racially profiled? Okay? And so, in terms of criminal justice initiatives, I passed the first racial profiling bill in the state of Texas, okay? Secondly, I passed the first bill in the state of Texas for body cameras. And y'all have seen body cameras on police officers? Yes. Who's been stopped by police? Anyone's been stopped by police? Okay. For those that have been stopped, they should be treating you better when they stop you, because those body cameras are. And they know that that's going to kind of record what's going on. And so for those of you that have never been stopped, hopefully you never will get stopped, but those body cameras will ultimately tell a story about how your interaction went with that police officer. And as a result of that, it's used in a court of law, it's used for complaints against police officers, and also against citizens. Because some citizens act a fool when they're stopped by police officers. And when a police officer let them know that the encounter is being videoed, it kind of calms everyone down. In terms of students, we have a program, and Dr. Smith, back here, is a recipient and graduated somewhere from the program. It's called the Dr. Emmett J. Conrad program. One of the things that was asked of me when I became a state senator, what am I going to do for the college students in our senatorial district? And so we set up a internship program, okay? Which he was in about how many years?
I'm an active alumnus. Enough years.
A lot of years, okay? And what we do is this. When you get into college and you want to get a job during the summertime, we try to find you a job during the summertime. A paid job, making some money. And over the years that we've had that program, we have created over 3,000 internship opportunities for students and young adults in our senatorial district. That's what I do, okay? Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I get it, but I know one of the things we also have on this campus that you're active with your office is the Student Advisory Committee. I know that pandemic knocked it out, but maybe we can talk more about how to get that revitalized again now that we're all pretty much back.
And what we're trying to do, it's important. My capital, where I get ideas from, is from you. From your parents, from people in the community. If I'm not listening to you about how you feel about things, how can I be an effective legislator? I can't. I need to know your feelings. And so we created a Student Advisory Committee. The pandemic kind of knocked it out, but we need to get back with your principal in order to reestablish it here at your school. And what that ends up happening, I met your president of your student body a few minutes ago. We try to get student leaders to be a part of it in order to have input into my decision-making process and give me ideas that I can take back to the legislature. So we'll make sure we do that, okay? Guys, it's been great being with you, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, bye. Senator West, thank you, and it's been a great honor to have you. You know, I think Annie Bernice Johnson was probably present in this room while you were speaking.
Yeah.
She had a great impact on yourself. And me too. We have a couple things for you here. Pull that out of the packet there, will you?
On behalf of Trinidad, Garza, Early College High School, you know, the whole student body, the administrators back there, you know, I'd just like to personally thank you for speaking to us. You know, it's been a great honor.
Do y'all know who Trinidad Garza was?
Oh, yes.
Okay, they know? Okay, all right.
And we have
No, go ahead.
And Emma, we have a gift of appreciation to you from Dallas College.
Okay, very good. Thank you. You really don't know how excited I was to be here with you today. And hopefully I get another opportunity to come back and visit with you. But please, please, don't treat this like you go to church, you hear the message, and then you leave and forget it, okay? Please make certain you get involved in the political process. Because as I started off, business is what? Politics. And politics is what? Business. Thank you very much.
I think we can have you back again soon. I think there's a lot of people want some photographs we can do so.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, okay.
Ms. Sanchez, you have anything you'd like to say? We'll take some pictures.
Y'all take care.